start? It's 12:00, almost.
Gabriel, can we get started?
Yeah, I think yes. I will call meanwhile the rest of the distributors, but some of them told me that they will take 5 minutes more to arrive, so we can start if you want.
Okay, perfect. So, quick introduction. First of all, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you for assisting, and thank you for making this possible, and Veronica for leading the tasting. I just want to make a couple clarifications. First of all, is that this is a trade event. I think during the pandemic, we've all been to many virtual tastings and events, and most of them haven't been very memorable, at least in my case. So for the feedback that we've gotten for the last couple of days, everybody's very happy. And the reason is because we've tried to make this a trade event. So all the wines that you're tasting aren't yet in the US market. We've had 2 more groups on Tuesday and Wednesday, but those groups tasted different wines. So you are the only distributor from your state that is going to be tasting the wines that you're going to be tasting today. The wines are currently in Argentina. There will be a possibility to purchase through the Lovemark platform stateside in New Jersey, but you are also free to negotiate directly with the wineries. That's something that's at your discretion. Lovemark is a clearance company. We keep stock in New Jersey. We don't have import margins. We do the difference that we do get the wines and set it. Veronica, you do a great job. If you please feel free to interrupt whenever she's done. And ask them. We will also have some interaction with some of the wineries that are here today joining us, but we won't extend the event too much. So you will be able to get back to soon. Thank you very much again, and I'll be here if you need me. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. Hello, everyone. I'm Veronica Couturier, and I'm from Wines of Argentina. The reason I'm here is to give you perspective as to the wines that you are going to be eating today. So we start with basically the premise that Argentina is not just Mendoza. We're not monolithic. We do have a diversity. And in order to understand the diversity that you're going to have in your glass, you have to have a little background as to the region and to kind of put it all together. So before we taste the wines, I'm just going to be very short and give you a short overview of the region. And if there's additional information you would like, I would be more than happy to share that with you. And as a matter of fact, after the chat, I'll put my email. So if you need maps or resources, I'll be able to give those to you. But first, just to give you an overview of Argentina, let me get on my screen. So basically, we're located in South America. We are between the 22nd and 55th parallel. The reason we put that in there is because the wine producing region is traditionally between the 30th and the 50th, and we produce wines along the entire country. So basically, Argentina offers a diverse ecosystem. We have summits that coexist with the plains. We have exuberant vegetation that exists with aridity. We have forests with glaciers, you name it. We are a diversity of ecosystems. We do plant though, however, in the arid climates, not in the glaciers of Patagonia. So nonetheless, so when we take a look at Argentina overall, what makes us unique? And we have different aspects that makes us unique. We have terroirs, which is our extension and diversity of land. Altitude, because what we lack in latitude, we make up in altitude, and I'll talk about that a little bit more and how it impacts the wine. Climate, very dry and continental, and you'll get to see that in a minute. The silt, extremely low in fertility, which basically we need the vines to thrive. So we'll show you how they thrive in Argentina. The water is pure, very pure, because it's really the ice melts of the Andes, and we have a great commitment from our wine producers in Argentina, and they're producing phenomenal quality wines. But what about our producers? What are they engaging in today? Today, basically, they're increasingly focusing on terroir in Argentina. They're using traditional methods of winemaking with new innovative techniques. They're creating new projects to showcase these terroirs, and they're actually leading the charge in creating new GIs. Just to give you perspective, Argentina has about 102 GIs. So again, it's not just Mendoza anymore. It is really a diverse region with diverse GIs that produce very distinctive styles of wines. So when you think about Burgundy, for example, village upon village upon village, when we get into the crux of the wines that we're tasting today, we're talking region, sub-region, sub-region, sub-region. So it does get a little bit complicated, but interesting at the same time. So just to give you a few figures overall, we are the 5th largest wine producer in the world, just after the US, the 7th largest cultivated surface, and the 10th largest wine exporter. Actually want to move up a little bit on that. So, maybe we get to, kick Portugal out, South Africa, and get behind the US. That would be our goal. So that's where you're here. As far as consumption, we do like to drink a lot, even though we're the 9th largest overall in wine consumption. The US has us beat, but city-wise, Buenos Aires is number 2, only to Paris in wine consumption. So again, we do drink a lot of what is made in Argentina, and that's why you see a lot of stuff is consumed in the domestic market and not exported. So the stuff that really comes to the US are really the quality wines that we're really seeking as consumers. Argentina, again, I said we're not monolithic. We're not just Mendoza. We actually have 4 different wine producing regions. The north, we don't have any wines from the north today, but that includes the regions of Jujuy, Salta, Tucumán, and Catamarca. This is where you actually find the highest altitude vineyard wines. Argentina does have the largest number of high altitude vineyards in the world. The highest actually is in Jujuy. And we'll get that in a minute. We also have the region of Cuyo. Cuyo is basically most of our wines here today are from the region, with the exception of one winery. And Cuyo is divided into La Rioja, not to be confused with Rioja, San Juan, and Mendoza. We also have the region of Patagonia. And again, every time people think Patagonia, I think the glaciers. Well, we're not that far south, but we're south enough where we're in the winemaking part of Patagonia, which is, we don't have the glaciers. We actually have vineyards, but they're lower vineyards, if you will. And then we have a new area of viticulture where they're doing a lot of experiments, and a few wineries are there. It's the Atlantic region of Buenos Aires. So again, Argentina has we're broken into 4 different regions, and we'll get into more detail. So again, the north, this only represents about 3% of the production. And one of the things I like to tell people is people think Torrentes, we do have one today, is the leading varietal of the north. It's not. Most of the varietals are red that come from the north. It just happens that the Torrentes grows really well in the northern part of the country, but the predominant wines coming out of there are reds. And again, the highest point of wine production in this part of the country is at 10,922 feet in Jujuy or Uguaya. And again, when I'm doing seminars with consumers, I know your trade, but if you want to steal this, I bring perspective. In 10,000 feet altitude is the ding on the plane that tells you that you can use your electronic equipment. So just to give perspective is how high they're making wine in Argentina. So why we're going to talk about altitude a little bit here, and altitude in regards to the entire region, because you can talk about high altitude and low altitude. The impacts are quite interesting. We have the Andes Mountains that basically works as a rain shadow or protective barrier. So anything that's coming from the Pacific, it's blocked off by the Andes range. So when they're getting rain, we get winds. Further, as you are quite far from the Atlantic, so we produce ideal growing conditions. And there's a lot of diversity of soil simply by the storms that left deposits all along the way. And that's why we have so many GIs in Argentina, because we discovered in our discovering that as you descend the mountain, different storms have different deposits of rocks and sediment. And so what you have is what's called alluvial fans that really represent very diverse land, if you will. Some have different heterogeneous rocks and stones and sediments that were left behind by these storms. So now we get to Cuyo, and again, we cannot talk about, even though we in the north, we say that we have altitude, we do have altitude in Cuyo as well. We go up to about 6,500 feet in altitude. And this is the most prolific wine region in Argentina. 95% of our wines come from here, and it's divided into 3 regions: La Rioja, San Juan, and Mendoza. And again, we do have today, what I'm excited about is we don't have a map for it, but I will talk about it. We do have a winery from La Rioja, and the representative is here today, and Jorge will talk to us when we get to his wines. So Mendoza, it's within the region of obviously Cuyo, and again, this is within the region. This is the highest one that produces the most volume of wine. About 75% of the production of Argentinian wine is made in Mendoza. And again, here, what's interesting to see is the fact that we have very little water coming in. And this is true for all regions, including La Rioja. Here you see I have about 220 millimeters of rain, which is about a bottle of water, those plastic bottles. And so we definitely need to be close to water, or an oasis, a reservoir, because we don't get that rain. And all that reservoir, it comes from, again, the ice melt of the Andes. And just to give you perspective, in La Rioja, where we're going to be tasting wine, they have half, about 130 millimeters or 5 inches of rain per year, but they're higher up the mountain. So again, you can imagine being close to a water source is key because we are in the desert. So again, just a review of why Argentina is so diverse, and we won't get too complicated, but we'll talk about it as we're tasting the wines. And again, I'm not going to tell you what to taste because you're professionals, but I'm just going to give you things to look at. And I apologize, this happened yesterday too. There we go. I had no wipe ups up. Oops, and there it goes again. Apologies, technical difficulties. That eventually will go away. There we go. Opa. There we go. Within Mendoza, we have two wines that are from this area called Uco Valley, or Valle de Uco. Uco Valley is, again, a very prolific wine producing area that basically has three GIs, major GIs, which are Tupungato, Tunuyán, and San Carlos, which are further divided into subregions. And San Carlos specifically has 8 subregions, one including Paraje de Altamira, which is one of the wineries we're tasting today, and the other one, La Consulta. So again, these regions get more and more complicated, if you will, but that's simply due to the studies they've made on the soils, because as you move down the mountain or even right or left, you see how the alluvial fans were created and the soil types are not the same. And that's why we're discovering so many GIs. Today we do have wines from Patagonia. Patagonia is in the south. They've been making wine for about 100 years in the region of Rio Negro, in Neuquén. And Patricio de Chanar is really where we're going to be focusing on today. Their wines here, one of the interesting things about this region, we have similar effects as in the north. In the north, you have high altitude, which means higher UV exposure. In the south, in Patagonia, you have a lot of winds, right? So what happens with strong winds coming in from the west, you have the grapes that produce thicker skins. So the styles of wine, they're going to be darker in color, but you also have a lot of fluctuation of sunlight, right? You have longer sunlight. So you really have really good amplitude of light, right? So very different style wines in Patagonia than Salta, but the same effects of the grape. And in Salta, you get thicker grapes because of the UV exposure. In Patagonia, you get thicker grapes because of the winds coming in from the Atlantic. So really, really cool regions. Okay, so that's just some general information to keep in mind before you taste the wines and why we're so diverse. And today we are offering up diversity in your glass. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch my screen and get to the LUPA wines. And while I switch my screens, I want to see if we have a representative of LUPA, because if we do, I will let him or her go ahead and speak about the wines. If not, I will be happy to do so. Do we have someone from LUPA? No worries. I'd be happy to do so. Is someone there? Okay, so I'll go ahead and start. So LUPA, what we have here, and I'm very excited, this is from the region of Paraje de Altamira. Paraje de Altamira, again, was part of what we call La Consulta in San Carlos, within the region of Valle de Uco, within Mendoza. This region actually had to be separated from another region called La Consulta, which is feet away. And that was simply because they realized that the soils were vastly different. So they carved out Paraje de Altamira because of the soil types. This winery has been around since 2009, and they have about 42 hectares. And they really want to make styles of wine that are really terroir driven. Again, you see a lot of these winemakers and a lot of these, especially the smaller regions, are really trying to minimize the impact of they really want to show more the terroir and express the terroir and less manipulation or intervention from man, right? So the first one we have is and let me take my notes here too, is that LUPA Chardonnay. And it's called Calle Constantin Blanco Canoso. Canoso means grays, like canas, right? So it's kind of funny. I wish I had the story about that. But this one is actually made in stainless steel tanks. So if you guys want to open up your cameras, because I'm not going to tell you what you're tasting, I'm just going to taste it. And I'm going to read the notes and see if I like it. Let's see. And everyone shut off their camera. Yeah, put them back on. And if you're not drinking with me today, that's okay. Drink them later. But again, the whites we always chill, right? But I say this at every tasting, and you are professionals, and I am probably preaching to the choir. But please don't show any red wine, especially these wines that are not cooled down, because they're not expressing themselves. So the reason they put on when you're talking to people, if you don't serve it at the proper temperature, they're not going to enjoy the wine. But I think my Chard now is a little bit warmer than it should be. But here in this region, it's about, we're quite high in altitude. We have a lot of rocks in this part because we're very close to the mountains. The closer you are to the mountain, the more rocks you're going to have. The further away you are from the mountain, the less rocks. So you're going to find a lot more minerality in this wine, by the way. And it's Chardonnay, it's not Malbec. Go figure. Just to give you perspective, we have about 203 varietals we grow in Argentina. PARAJE de ALTAMIRA, it's really well known for their Chardonnays. Again, a lot of mineral on that. That's because there's a lot of stone. And again, to give you altitude, they're about 3,800, if I'm not mistaken, about 3,800 feet above sea level. So it's very nice. Again, no one really thinks Chardonnay when they think Argentina, but they really have really exceptional Chardonnays in the region. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. That's okay. I'll serve myself back if I need it. The next wine that we have from Bodegas LUPA is the Malbec and Petit Verdot. So I'll pull it up right here. And again, all the prices, I don't deal with the prices, but all the prices are on the last sheet if you're curious to see. So this one, the first one was actually made with about 4% Semillon. Again, I think the rules are different all over. I think, when you're 95% in some parts of the world, you can label it as just Chardonnay, but here we want to make sure they show that it's Chardonnay and Semillon. So I want to correct that point.
These wines are organics, right, Veronica?
You know what? I don't have that in my notes. So if they are, I know they usually would say, I hear that they don't say that they are organic or in the notes that I was given. So this one again, here, this one, this Malbec and Petit Verdot, I will tell you the actual altitude is 3,200 to 3,900 feet in altitude. So what happens for every 155 meters you go up the mountain, you drop a degree Celsius in temperature. So the colder you get, the more acidity you're going to get in your wine. But also every 1,000 linear feet you go up the mountain, or excuse me, every 1,000 linear meters you go up the mountain, which is about 3,200 feet, you get an increase of 15% of UVB exposure. So more intense sunlight. So you can be up the mountain burning your head, the sunlight, and still feel like it's a little cooler out there, but the intensity is a lot higher as you go up the mountain, which also affects the color of the wine. So you'll find darker color and a more refreshing acidity simply because of the light exposure, the amount of UVB rays, and the temperature. Again, the temperature drops as you go up the mountain. This wine was aged in concrete eggs and tanks. And you'd be surprised, a lot of boutique or really important wineries are going back to traditional methods of, have you ever, I'm sure you've seen the eggs, Not everyone's using the eggs, but they're trying new things. They again, these are concrete tanks because again, the concrete keeps more the integrity of the terroir because you're not I don't want to say manipulating because it sounds like a negative term. It's not. They really want to give the true expression of the wine, and concrete is the more neutral of all of placeholders for the wine, if you will. But it's a very pretty wine. The other wine that we have from LUPA is 100% Malbec. So again, just to give you all just a point of reference, Malbec originated obviously in the region of Cahors, south of Bordeaux, and they were brought, the original Malbec grapes were brought from there. But what happened was we have pre-phylloxeric Malbec. Basically, after a couple years after we kind of bring them in and planting them, Europe was hit by phylloxera and wiped up all their vines. So we have the original or the rootstock of the original vines of Malbec. So again, this one again, Paraje de Altamira. This one is about 21 months in French oak, and only 25% of the barrels are used are new. So again, trying to give structure to the wine with this little push from man, if you will, on that wine. Just again, really representative of terroir. Ooh, it's funny, I pick up the oak on it, even though it's second use.
I'm sorry, are we on a third wine of theirs? I can't seem to.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't switch. You're right, I did not switch my screen, I apologize.
Oh, there we go, thank you.
I moved myself, I moved my wine, but not my screen. No, thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. And again, it's funny because this one for 25% barrel, you have a lot of on the nose, a lot of cedar notes. Chocolate on the nose. So again, like I mentioned, the pricing for this wine is on the back. So again, it's actually, this one's really nice in the fact that you got to taste a Chardonnay, Malbec blend with Petit Verdot and something, and then 100% Malbec that actually has a little bit of oak expression on it. So it's a very, very interesting lineup from the winery that they're presenting for the US market. Now, the next wine I'm not going to talk about, but I'm going to be tasting is from Bodega San Huberto, which is in the region of La Rioja, which is the region that I mentioned was over 4,000 feet in altitude. So you can imagine the solar expression, the UV rays, the cooler climate, the little water that they have, and their ability to have to irrigate just because they get less water than in Mendoza, about 130 millimeters per year. But I have Jorge, who is on the Zoom, and I'm gonna pass it over to him to present the wine since he's a commercial guy. So are you there? Hi, Jorge.
I'm here. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I don't have the wine.
Oh.
So I'm gonna
start with it's in the wrong order. I'm gonna start with the Torrontés, actually.
First of all, just a very, very brief introduction about La Rioja province. It's not Rioja, La Rioja province, which is the La Rioja province headed by a mountain called Velasco, the Velasco mountain, and the east part of La Rioja has a lower altitude, and the right part of the east part of La Rioja has a higher altitude. So we are located on the right side of the La Rioja, the north east part of La Rioja, where we have almost 1,500 meters above the sea level, which gives us more concentration. So the wines that we produce in San Huberto are different. Whether you like it or not, they are different. That's what we're looking for when it comes to Argentina, because the growth of Argentina will be given by the different terroirs. That's what you said at the beginning. Well, I don't know if you are familiar with the Torrontés. The Torrontés is although some people think otherwise, it's a very dry white wine. It doesn't have any oak at all. It's got a very fruity nose, and it's some roses. I don't know if Veronica, you agree with me. Maybe you are tasting it. You gonna. It's floral. It's floral. It goes very well with some fish and as an aperitif. This is a wine that is very, very different. And we're selling well in Asia, in Japan, and in the United States. I think that this could be a different thing, very different from the Chardonnay.
If I may say, one of the things that it's funny, you said you sell to Japan. This is really great for Asian restaurants, whether or sushi, even I mean, in general Asian cuisine, whether it could be Indian food, right? So yeah, it's a really nice balance for Asian food.
Yeah, and you can see the color is very, very clear. Huh? It's very clear, very, very, very pale. One of the things that you don't need to age this wine, but one of the things about the Torrontés that when you keep it the wine, it doesn't age at the same speed as the Torrontés. So you can keep it in a proper way, you know. You can keep it for quite a long time, and it maintains the fruitness in the nose and in the palate. I think it's a different product. I don't know if you got any questions, or we move to the.
We'll move to the next one. Do you want to do the Nina? We'll do the Nina Malbec, and then we'll do the Nina the San Huberto Reserva. So we'll do the
San Huberto Reserva.
Okay, so San Huberto Reserva.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. This is this is a Malbec from the region. So when you pour on the glass, you will see a strong color. Very. It's not a young wine. It's I think that the vintage.
It is actually it's 2020.
2020. So actually, it's 12 months in oak. Not everything, not 100% of the wine. So it's got just a part of the wine has been in oak, and sometimes we use some staves during the fermentation process too. The most important thing on this wine is the ratio price quality, because it's a little bit higher than an entry level, but it goes well. The retail price in the US will be around $11.99 more or less, which is a good relationship price quality. And what do you think about the color, Veronica? The color and the taste?
Yeah, no, it's really very dark, intense, very it says plummy on there, but it's really dark violet to me, like very dark violet. I don't know if you can see from the camera. Yeah, very dark violet colors that are coming in on the glass. It's very pretty wine. Lots of fruit though on the palate, but it's also extremely very dry too at the same time. People confuse fruit with sweet in the US, and this is fruit with dry.
Yeah. One important thing is that the violet color, which is it means that the wine is keeping the fruit.
And then the next one we're going to have is we have the
Nina. The Nina, well, this is the same style, but well, it comes from vineyards with lower production, so it's a more refined wine. It's even though it's a Malbec from La Rioja, but on Nina Gold we put a little better wine, and with a little bit more oak, 50% of the wine being in oak. But we, by all means, we try to keep the fruit. We don't want the oak overpowers the fruit. That's the idea of our winemaker. Again, the color is strong. It's strong, and the taste. What do you think, Veronica?
Yeah. Again, it's again dry. You can put oak on it, but it's not overpowering. And again, it's funny because you're using French oak, so again, it's more subtle, but you get the astringency in the mouth without having a heavy oak feel. It's just more, you find more in the dry, on the drier tannins because of the oak, not so much the oak toast, if you will. So it's a very, very nice wine. So this one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're at 1,450 meters above sea level on this one, which is 4,757 feet above sea level, which means, again, a lot of that, again, cooler climate, again, every 155 linear feet, you go up the mountain, 1 Celsius drop, and every 1,000 linear meters you go up, or which is equivalent to, what is it? I have it here, 3,200 feet. You're getting higher exposure to sun. Your UV exposure is 15 times greater. So a lot of intensity of sunlight that is.
Yeah, well, the thermal jump between night and day, that's what it gives the varieties more strongness. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jorge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Patagonia. And I say that because I like to have diversity of when, so you can compare contrast. So in Patagonia, we are the southern part of the country. Here, San Patricio de Chanar is where we're tasting wine from. And one of the characteristics of the region is the fact that I mentioned earlier, they get a lot of winds, right? So the winds make the grapes tougher to protect the juice. And you have extra days of sunlight. So you have what comes out of that, it have well-balanced wines with good acidity kind of region. Again, people think, Malbec, which it is our flagship varietal, but in this region, make a lot of sparkling wine. Why? Because we make a lot of Pinot and Chardonnay. They still make Cabernet Sauvignon as well. The wine we're going to taste today is from SECRETO Patagónico, and I don't know if we have the winery and Rebel Chardonnay is what we're tasting, but I don't know if I have a wine rep that.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, perfect, Thomas. Yes, we're going to have you speak to the wine because I like it better when you speak to the wine.
Okay, perfect. I make a small introduction of the winery. This is my name is Thomas Gropo Parisi. I'm the second generation of this family winery. My parents started 20 years ago in a moment that Argentina was in a quest to find new terroirs, searching for freshness and minerality in the wines. At that moment, a lot of wineries went up in the mountains, others went down to the south. They were all searching for cool climate regions for this kind of wines. It's this particular region, it was created at that moment. They joined together with other families, and they created a new wine valley that is called San Patricio del Chañar. Today is the biggest wine valley from Patagonia. And this wine line particularly, it was designed as a statement that wine doesn't need oak to be great. All the line is unoak. Okay, it's our latest wine line. And we keep all the best traditional practices like manual harvest. We use it's a state winery, the vineyard and the winery all together. The winery is designed by Gravity, and we keep all the best traditional practices, let's say, and we add we try to make a mix between tradition and modernity. We have mapped all the vineyard with drone technology. We take profit of all the new technologies, but keeping all the best traditional practices. That's a little bit the idea. So, in this region, what it has developed as the emblematic grape has been Pinot Noir. It's a continental Pinot Noir because most of the regions around the world, you will see maritime influence. Well, not Burgundy, but most of the rest. And here is really a cool climate region. And as was spoken before, here we have a lot of sun, so it's a very, very fruity wine. So the general idea of this Rebel wine line is to produce fresh and fruity wines, and that's a little bit what we are trying to show you here. We have 3 wines, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Malbec that you will be tasting today, and all with the same philosophy. So that's a little bit a very fast summary.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And it's funny, not funny, haha, but interesting when you taste, a Chardonnay from Paraje de Altamira and a Chardonnay from Patagonia or San Patricio de Chanar, very different. More fruit. The other one's more mineral, bigger mouthfeel. It's basically a very, very broad wine that can bring a broader palate, right, of consumers. So it's a very interesting wine, and nice to see the difference of the two aromatically and in the mouth, right? Very different styles. We're going to move on here to the Pinot Noir. Again, the land of OPA. Next. And again, I tell you, again, the land, like I said at the beginning, we're not monolithic. We produce diverse varietals in diverse regions of diverse styles. So again, when people think Argentina, Malbec, no, we're Argentina with diversity of, a panorama of wines and styles and assortments. So if we can get that today from an educational perspective, I focus on education, if you will, or just pushing the category, driving category, helping drive, the diversity is key here. And one of the, especially with these type of what we call new world wines, is because we label by varietal. We can compete with Chardonnay, we can compete with California, we can never compete with Australia, we can compete with Pinots, we can compete with any varietal. We are competing against ourselves in the Malbec category because we're really that good. But anywhere that you see a Chardonnay, or a Pinot Noir, it really, when you look at the price point, are trying to be interpreters of the land, in a sense, interpreter of the vine. That's really what the winemakers are trying to go for, and that's why you see these vast interpretations and the diversity that comes out. So. But let's try the Malbec from the cool climate part of the country. Again, this is, we would say, more the plains, really, as opposed to the altitude. You're about 300 meters. Where? How high are you in Patricio de Chañar?
In San Patricio del Chañar, there are two variables, let's say, in Argentina. On one side, you have altitude, the other one is latitude, okay? So when Argentina was searching for this cool climate, some went up in the mountains, others south to Patagonia. So we achieved a very fresh wine without going so high. Actually, inside San Patricio del Chañar, we are in the highest part of the valley. That has been, I think, is the best region, and we are at 350 meters over sea.
So you're about the same. The point I'm trying to say, you're about the same point as Burgundy. So that it's funny because people think altitude just means you're really high up the mountain. No. It's just the fact that you can have altitude at any point of the mountain and really still be, so yeah, we're more compared to Burgundy in this part of the altitude here. So, but you got more sun and more winds. Yeah. A lot more winds too, right? And the color is very, I mean, there's a lot of westerly winds that are coming from Patagonia. So basically they're, wouldn't say organic, but basically you don't use a lot of control because the winds dry out the pests in essence.
Yeah,
so
right.
They're basically, it's for anyone to understand, yeah, they may treat if you need to, but they're mainly organic in the sense that the wind takes care of the pests out of the vineyards. So it doesn't need manipulation from man to stop, these infestations on the vines.
Yes, we have been really blessed in that sense in Patagonia. That it's very easy all that side, and while we are far away from most of the big cities. In Patagonia, it's all the water is very good quality, comes from the mountain, and everything is very natural, let's say, and it's doing great. We are very, very happy with the region.
And it's nice, you do get the expression of the fruit. There's no oak on that. And it still feels pretty big in a sense, even though I was medium style, but it still feels big in the mouth. It's, again, a very nice one. Very nice one. Thank you, Tomas, for helping present. Now, if there's someone from VCS here today, I'm gonna have to speak it in Latin in a minute if no one shows up for the next one, or I'm gonna do my best and hopefully not massacre. Is there someone from VCM on the call on the Zoom today? It's okay. Then I will massacre it. Hopefully not too badly. So it's Vide cor meum. That's Latin for mira mi corazón, or look at my heart. This is a winery from La Consulta, which is right next to Paraje de Altamira, the region they had to carve out because it was formerly known as La Consulta, but they realized that there was diversity. So these are these two wineries, from LUPA to the one we're tasting right now, are very close geographically, but what we understand from these GIs is that they're very different type of soil. So we're going to have different styles of wines coming here from the VCM. We'll just put, actually, we just say VCM winery, okay, because I'm not speaking Latin today. But so first we're going to go, if the representative is not here, we're going to go dive right into the wine, or do I hear, is he here or she? No?
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Okay, well, the first wine, again, we're going to taste is ELICURA Malbec. The vintage is 2020. And again, this is when we talked about Mendoza in the region of Valle de Uco, the sub-region of San Carlos, to the sub-region of La Consulta. So we have 4 names really to get through, Nicolas is here. Please, Nicolas is from VIDE MEUM. Please, I'll let you speak to your wines. Thank you.
How are you, Veronica? My pleasure, my pleasure. Can you hear me well? Can you see me?
Yes,
well?
we can hear you and see you, and we're excited you're on, so I don't massacre your wine.
Okay, thank you so much. You say it right, you say it right. Well, the name of the wines and the project is VIDE MEUM, which, as you said, means Mira mi corazón, look at my heart. We started this project with my brother-in-law a couple of years ago and decided this year to start selling the wines worldwide and to promote it as well. So thank you so much for this opportunity. We are already selling the wines in China, but US is our most important market, and we hope to know somebody interested about the wines. So we are, as you say, in La Consulta at 1,200 meters above sea level. It's a region located in Uco Valley, just 100 kilometers from Mendoza City. And our portfolio is more complete. Today we can only try 3 wines, but we also have some other varieties and blends, and our top premium wine, which is called VIDE MEUM. So ELICURA, which is the first wine you have, means transparent stone. Yes, the word is from Mapuche, Mapudungun, which is a native language from indigenous population here in Chile and Argentina. So ELICURA means transparent stone. Why? Why? Because our vineyard is a 160 hectares vineyard in La Consulta. And well, the terroir is absolutely amazing. It starts in Altamira and ends in La Consulta. And we have huge, big stones covered on it. Yes, that almost practically when the sun is at its above the stones, you cannot see them because they are so white, and the sun is so strong there that well, that is why we call it ELICURA, which means transparent stone. It is a very fresh Malbec, high altitude wine, Malbec from Uco Valley. It has a little smooth oak, only for 50% of the wine during 3 months in oak barrels, second use oak barrels. So it's kind of fresh. We wanted to give some personality and a light oak for to have more well balanced on the palate. So I hope you like it.
Yeah, it's a very nice wine. Very nice wine.
Thank you so much. We are talking about that around, well, I think you have the prices there, but we are starting at $3.5 US XLR in Argentina. The idea is to reach the US market at $12.99. So to be at a very competitive price range in the US. I hope we can do that.
That's a really good price point for that quality wine. Again, what I talked about earlier about the qualities of wine coming from Argentina and the price point. That's a perfect example of great quality vis-a-vis price, really.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question about pricing really fast?
Yes.
Is it really common to pay in dollars instead of pesos? Or is it often that we need to convert to peso and pay down in peso? What's your preference? ¿Qué preferencia?
Well, the idea, you know, it's we have to, all what we export needs to enter to Argentina as US dollar. If we do it in another currency, but yes, it should be in US.
Okay.
And there are other price ranges. We start at ELICURA which is our entry wine. We are planning to have probably next vintage because we sell a lot of grapes to many important wineries, Catena, Trivento, Norton. We sell the grapes. We have a 160 hectares vineyard, but a couple of years ago, as I said, we decided to produce our own wines with our winemaker, and this is the year that we decided to start with marketing the wines. And then we have SENSUM B, which is also Latin, and means the force of senses. Yes, la fuerza de los sentidos. SENSUM B starts with a single vineyard Malbec, and we also have a Cabernet Sauvignon, but our preference for this tasting was Malbec. And we are talking about now 6 months of the wine in oak barrels. It's also second use oak barrel to give a smooth personality, but still with character from Uco Valley. And for that wine, we are starting at $5.5 US, approximately $6 US, ex-seller in Argentina. Probably the idea is to get to the US at $20 US retail, if possible. Yes, I think it could be very competitive at that price range. And also the label, if you turn the label here, I have an example where you see VIDE, SENSUM B, sorry. If you turn the label, you can see the image. It reflects our history. It reflects the legacy of my family, immigrants, winemakers from Italy, and also from my brother-in-law from Spain. You can see the drawings. Here we start with a ship that came to America. Then you can see at the top, you can see hand-picking grapes. Then on the right side, you can see the press, and at the bottom, you can see a barrel. Yeah, so it's a very elegant. We are trying to show and reflect the legacy of our family here in Argentina.
Very nice. I do like the label. Thank you for pointing it out, because this looked pretty, but I didn't. Yeah, until you showed it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a pretty label. Yeah.
See, the idea is not to see it right away, but to tell and to discover when you are also pouring the wine. You can see the drawings.
It's textured too, so you can feel the texture on it. So when you go around in the circle, there's texture. So
yes. And well, it's a. I hope you like it. It's a very beautiful label that tells a lot for the label.
It tells a story too. Stories sell in the US. If you have a story, everything is a story. Really, you have to have a story behind the wine.
Thank you. And please let me know if you have any questions. So, and then we have what we said is SENSUM B GRAN, which should be the Cabernet Franc. This is a very, very unique grape variety from Argentina, growing a lot. I think this is the next Malbec from Argentina in the US. Cabernet Franc, we don't want to sell more grapes to the other wineries. So with my brother-in-law, we said, okay, this is a 2018 vintage, and now it's the release. Well, this year we were about to start last year, but well, with COVID, it was a little hard also to travel. I wish I could be there talking about the wines, but I think that there could be an opportunity later. Well, SENSUM B GRAN is a 100% Cabernet Franc. This is our unique wine from the portfolio. I think this is my favorite wine. It has a very strong personality. Cabernet Franc in Argentina was used as a grape for blending wines, but our vineyard and the altitude, the terroir, makes us to have an excellent quality. So we decided to do it 100% pure Cabernet Franc.
Yeah, it's so interesting, the fact that it's, you pick it up at the moment you put your nose in that glass, you get that green pepper. It is so, this is what Cab Franc is and should be, and very representative of the varietal. And I could not wait to again maybe get some samples to see how well it ages, because you said up to 10 years, so you can hold this wine. It would. This is a
For
big
sure,
wine. It's a big boy.
For sure, I think it has a huge potential. It has been in oak barrels for 12 months. We don't want to use only new barrels, but want also to add some second use oak barrels, just to not to be too oaky the wine, and to preserve the quality of the Cabernet Franc. Very fruity, very strong, blackberries, and that is the idea, to reflect the pure terroir from La Consulta, Uco Valley. And this is a very unique wine for us. We have a small quantity. We are talking about 5,000 bottles every year. And I hope next year we can do a lot of more bottles. We still have a remaining of 3,500 bottles. And we are selling very well. People likes the wine, and we are talking approximately $8 ex-cellar for a premium single vineyard Gran Reserva, if you can say so, to reach at least $30 approximately retail. That is the idea. $30 100% pure Cabernet Franc. I think it could be very competitive as well. And together on the same range with SENSUM B GRAN, we have a blend. You cannot taste it now, but we have it here. And at the top, we have our premium icon wine, which is called VIDE Cormeu Altum. Altum because it's the translation of highest in Latin as well, and that is our most premium wine. Unfortunately, I'm very sorry, we haven't presented it to any international challenges because this is a very brand new project. We are eager to start promoting the wine, so this is our first opportunity we have in US.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions about this wine or any of the other wines from today? Again, all the pricing is on the back. Again, I think if anything, again, I know you guys are shopping around for wines, but one of the things, again, if anyone says to you, you know, again, we're not monolithic. We're such a diverse region that offers such diversity of product at such great quality and price ratios. Again, again, that's if you can have that in your mind, like that's really what, again, we're MALBEC and beyond, really, and everything else in between. Again, so beautiful. It's a very nice diverse lineup today, so that's really good representation of Argentina. So thank you for putting that together, that team of Lovemark and CFI. Anyone have anything they want to share or any questions? I am going to stop sharing my screen right now. I know I'm going to put in the chat if you need resources as far as educational resources at Wines of Argentina. We, try to promote the category. So we're apolitical, unbiased. We are just here to help drive the category. And we do have a lot of educational tools. But if you need anything, I'm here. I'm based out of Chicago. And I'm willing to, I'm a resource if you need me or would like me to be a resource for you. So I'm going to put my email on the chat for you. Anyone have any questions? Oh, I better take this out of the.
If we're interested in a wine, how do we express that? Who should we contact?
Lovemark.
Yes.
Gabriel, is it you?
Yes, I wanted to say that from next week, we will start to make the follow-up with all of you. And if you want to be contacted directly with the wineries, we will do. And well, we can talk about all the options because you can do direct import or you can buy as distributors through Lovemark. We will be in touch from next week. And apart from this, I would like to say also that we will send you the video of this tasting, just in case you want to take a look again. And for example, for James Moises that just received today the samples because of the hurricane, I think that it will help him to try the wines again.
So again, all your information will be sent again. The follow-ups will be made by Lovemark. Thank you all for coming again and sharing your cameras. Makes it easier, better, more engaging for me. But I thank everyone. And if anyone has any questions about Argentina or whatever you may need, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email's in the chat. So thank you, everyone.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hope you have loved the one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.